Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
I'm Cindy Burleson, and I'm here in Reno, Nevada, the United States.
Great. And can we go ahead, because we got a lot to cover today, can we go ahead and talk about your past leading up into your present with your company or your past, however you want to do it, okay?
I love your trademark question. So my past leading up to my present would be I am just honored to be the chairman of the International Sibling Society. We started in 1998. So we're just going to consider that a past of antiquity for many of us. So we got started in 1998, and we've had three different uh, causes that we've been involved in. When we first started out, we looked at international child abandonment and did a study in 10 different countries just to like define what are sibling bonds. Here it is, we're the International Sibling Society. What does that even mean? So we went to 10 different countries. We were focusing on children in orphanages and child abandonment, and we learned a great deal. This was in 1998, and I'm sorry, 1999, 2000. And we ended up coming back with a lot of children's paintings, art, as we communicated across languages, we painted. And about 10 years later, those paintings from all the kiddos were exhibited at the United Nations in New York City, at the headquarters there. And then we got into phase two, which was Olympic studies and the Olympic Truce, the power of the Olympic Truce. So, in other words, the sports phase. And we looked at our specialty was the Olympic Truce, which is a resolution that goes through the United Nations every 2 years when those Olympic Games come up. And I could tell you more about that if you're interested. But
I
then
am.
we moved, yeah, okay. Then we moved to phase three, which is where we are now after the pandemic, when we rebranded and we did a lot of polling during the pandemic. We asked a lot of questions: what causes are important to you? And it came back loud and clear that sustainability is where we're at. So we are focused now on the 17 sustainable development goals that were also kind of coordinated through the United Nations. And we could talk about that a little bit more if you wanted to. Past and present. Did I get it all in?
Yeah, you did. You definitely did. And so these 10 countries, do you remember each and every one of the countries in which you actually captured, and what kind of relativity did these countries have towards the one goal you were or your group was trying to do?
Yes. Oh, that's a good question, because now this you're talking about the sibling bond study in the 90s, right? In
1999.
2000. Okay, that was a long time ago. So I'm glad you asked me that question. We're going to see how well upstairs works with that question. Okay, so let me see if I could do it. You asked the countries, so let me ask that first. Let's see if I can do it. So went to France, Belarus, Bulgaria, uh, China, India, Thailand. I think I've already said Belarus.
Yeah.
Singapore, brief stop in, got sick, had to leave. And you know what? I think that's seven. It's 7 out of the 10. So off the
Good.
top of my head, in almost 25 years, right? So yeah, those were the countries. And as far as you were asking something about which ones were most
Well,
important or impressive, and
basically, what I was asking was, like, how do these 7 to 10 countries, how did they all have a common thing, and how did they all basically help each other without helping each other?
well, that's a good question. But now keep in mind, this was also connected to graduate work studies through the University of Memphis in Tennessee. So all of your answers, it's all housed at the University of University of Memphis in Tennessee. But basically, we were looking at children. We were looking at the issue of child abandonment and children that lived in orphanages, specifically like siblings. that were in orphanages. And we were curious about that. What happens to these already families that are in, state's care in their country? Um, you know, are they separated? Do they live there? What happens to them? Or do they get adopted out to different countries, ripped from their culture and sent somewhere else? What happens? And so we looked at those issues. And all in all, you might be surprised. The end result was that art exhibition at the UN. And the art exhibition is beautifully colored, lots of colors in the painting, the orphanage painting. So there's a lot of different kids painting on the same big piece of paper, lots of big, uh, just surprisingly colorful, energetic, a lot of positivity. But what do you expect if you're, working with over 1,000 children? They're kids and they just kind of have a happy, positive, you know, aura about themselves. So it ended on a positive note in many, many ways. So, but moving on to the race for sustainability, can we talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do it. All right. Well, the International Sibling Society is really working on this amazing project right now, and it's just being well received. And it has, if we just take the International Sibling Society out of it, let me just tell you what the heck is going on. We've got over 190 country teams that are physically running and putting their feet on the planet. They're running 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, full marathons, or just simply family fun run without any distance requirements. Um, and it's all organized on the race roster platform where you register online for the race. You can register for all those different levels of running, whatever your level of running is. And this is actually art imitating life. Okay, so here we are running the race on the planet, and just like the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that were organized through the United Nations, we're set to complete those in the year 2030. We started in 2012. Some say 2015, depending on how you look at it. It's conversation started in Brazil in 2012, and then formalized themselves in a document in 2015. And it's all these goals are set to be achieved in 2030, which is right around the corner. We're, at the finish line. Are we going to achieve these 17 goals or are we not? And these 17 goals are pretty hard goals. They're not easy. They're
Tell me about them.
Yeah, they're really lofty, heavy goals. They're things like ending poverty, no poverty, zero hunger, good health and good health and well-being, quality education around the world, gender equality, clean water and sanitation. Oh, we could talk about Paris and the Olympics right now when we talk about clean water and sanitation. We get there. And then it goes on through actually clean water, life in the water, number 14, life on land, number 15, on to 17, which is my favorite, which is partnership for the goals. But these are hard goals, and there's a lot of debate and conversation about whether or not we'll actually reach these goals. Some people say that'll never happen. That's just too ambitious. Forget that. And and others we're plugging away. We're plugging away, and we're moving towards sustainability. It's being quite well received. The race itself. And you'd be surprised at how many are on board with sustainability and creating a sustainable planet where, humans and all species and even the planet itself, we all live better.
Tell me about the United Nations, your journey with the United Nations.
Well, I guess you just have to say somewhere along the lines, I just got interested in international uh, interest as far as travel international or studying internationally or what have you. And if you're out and about internationally, you know or involved or aware of the United Nations. That's your commonality with other countries. That's what we all have in common, you know, most or
And your journey, you started out where you were around, I believe for briefly, Nancy. What was her name again?
Are you
We
talking? What
Go
was
ahead.
that?
Who? What's her name? And start with it. And I don't want to damage it.
I think you're talking about Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley. Yes,
Yeah,
Nikki.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Nikki
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Haley. Sorry.
You want to talk about Nikki Haley?
Yes. I do. Like everything you know about the United States, the nations, and everything that you accomplished from the United Nations, being who you were with the United Nations. That's what I want to know.
Uh-huh. Well, keep in mind, I'm chairman of the International Sibling Society, a 501c3 nonprofit. We're actually an arts and culture organization. So, we're about arts and so forth. So, um, but you are talking about the in the 90s.
Mhm.
Um, I had asked you if you were involved with the women's prep com in the
Correct.
90s. I know a lot of people that I don't know, just kind of gravitated to it. And what that was that was my introduction to the United Nations and how it all worked. But I was actually in Memphis, Tennessee at the time, and we got an invitation. Do you want to go to New York and be involved in this women's prep com? And so I went, and we would just a group of people that went up there. I do remember some from the Catholic Church, and then the International Sibling Society and things like that. We went up, and we were in the halls of the United Nations, but there was meetings where people sat in big rooms with theater seats and desks with their country's name on it, and the doors would close, and there might be some TVs or something in the background where we could see what was going inside, but there was definitely like a inside the conversation, and then those that were hovering around the conversation out in the halls. And so anyway, this was at a time when Nikki Haley was the U.S. ambassador, and so she came to talk with us because she was the U.S. ambassador to the UN. And I asked her. I said, "Well, Nikki, what's how do you get in there as opposed to where we are out here?" And her aunt, she just looked at me, and her aunt, in a good way, very kind. And anyway, she said that you're appointed by your president. So, that's the difference there. But I do like to um, bring out to people that it's not the people that are inside the meetings, because they come out of those doors and they go talk to people that are there with ideas and language for their documents and help them work through these issues. And then they take what we have out in the hall and they go in and they speak it inside the meetings. So we're very much, if you all you have to do to be involved in these meetings is just you have to fill out some paperwork beforehand, so they know who you are, and then they'll give you something back, like your pass to get through security, and then you participate in the meetings, and they last years and years, of course, at a time, and so forth. So, and we
What
went through the women's prep com, then there was the Millennium Development Goals, and now there's the Sustainable Development Goals.
what actually did you help out with? You just named three things. What did you help out with that you voiced your opinion on and gave insight to people like Nikki Haley? Because wasn't she the one that went up against Trump for presidency this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. I just damaged names. So yeah,
Mhm.
tell me, what did y'all accomplish in the years that y'all were engaging in dialogue?
Hmm. Well, I'm going to answer this question as a graduate student would answer it. That was a long time ago, and without going into much detail, I can tell you that there were the Catholic Church was in our groups. We would go at night and make sure. Well, meetings at night because the we would have meetings where we could talk amongst each other at night so that we could go back to the meetings the next day with plans and documents and words to add to their documents. And the Catholic Church was involved in that. So if that tells you
Yeah.
anything about what, I don't know. I think that the Catholic Church with uh, women's issues and children being born, if you just think along those terms of what the Catholic Church might be involved in or what interest they might throw to the floor of the United Nations. That was who was in our group, big group. So
Okay, and for those who possibly want to get into the United Nations, you said fill out some paperwork, like basic paperwork, but the ones who is the chair of like let's say the head of the US of the United Nations that's affiliated with the United Nations that's part US or US citizen, they have to be brought in by the president themselves. So tell me, how long does that process take, and like who are they looking for?
hmm I'm going to answer this one two different ways. Let's just look at the way that we kind of you can just be a nonprofit organization. It's called an NGO. So as an NGO, you just fill out your NGO paperworks to observe and participate. Um, And another way is, Angeli, uh, married to Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
And
Angelina Jolie.
there you go. Okay, so she was a goodwill ambassador. Okay, so obviously she's a movie star. She's got, you know, she is who she is. But they just brought her on board as an ambassador, as far as that's concerned. So if you're interested in the United Nations and the work of the United Nations, just you know, go online, get plugged in, and then participate. You can participate in the World Bank, some meetings and things that they have. And it's all these days, most of these meetings are accessible online. All you need to do is register, and instantly you're in World Bank meetings. So, you know,
Okay.
interesting stuff.
It is. It definitely is. And, I have some questions routing back to your organization. For those who don't know, for the vigorous work your people, your clients do, tell me, how far is a 5K race from a 10K race? How far
Okay.
is that?
The 5K is 3.11 miles. And that is my level of and then that's what I just ran not too long ago.
Congrats.
The marathon, I want to say, is 26.2 miles, and then half marathon is half of that. So there you go.
So it's probably
They're
like,
big races.
yeah, that's a
Have
lot of
you
blood, sweat, and tears.
have you well, it's amazing. It's wonderful if biting it off. Have you done a 5K?
Well, I'll tell you like this. I used to be in the military, so we used to have to run 5, 6 miles a day or every other day. So to run 2 miles isn't really, back in the day wasn't nothing, but I have to get myself prepared. I know like
Mhm.
5 people that I've interviewed that they used to be like obese, or even if they are still like a little big like me, they said that they can do like 10K or better. So that's the only reason why I enjoy hearing these great stories about women and men who go out there and make it fun, make it actual fun to go out there and run and get acquainted with people, drink water, listen to music. I don't know. Do your organization allow you to listen to music?
Oh, we're making a playlist. We're doing it on this Saturday. Yeah. So we are actually making a playlist for participants in the race to work out to and run to, all about sustainability. So we can make our own songs these days. So
You know
we're going
what's
to do that on Saturday.
you
It'll
know
be
what's
distributed
crazy?
out to the
What's
participants.
crazy is that they sometimes don't allow music because they say it's considered cheating, but I don't see that as cheating. I see that as encouragement and like you said, sustainability. You
Hmm.
know, um, tell me about how did you grow so fast to 190 countries?
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, race roster platform is amazing. Okay, if you have ran of any races like a 5K or whatever, chances are you already have a race roster account where you went to register for your race. Now, there's multiple race platforms out there, but race roster is a prominent one, and they were international in scope. And our first question to them was, how many countries do you work with? And they said 38. And so we started with 38. And, uh, and then with the magic of what they were doing and how wonderful they are, all of a sudden we're now up to 190 something. So that number actually mirrors the number of uh, member states in the United Nations. So that's how our list grew so much. Now, some countries are more represented than other countries. You can sign up for the race and you can run for a country, any country that you want to. It's your choice. You can run for any choice, any country. Um, for example, in our country, Kimberly, we could just probably open up our doors and run. But in some countries around the world, that might not be a good idea. Safety situation may not be such that it's people are free to run, especially in an organized manner. So if there's a country that weighs heavy on your heart that you want to run for, you can choose that country in the drop down menu during registration and run for the country of your choice. So
What
yeah.
is your what is your future goals? Well said, by the way. What is your future goals for the organization?
Well, we've been around for a long time, and we're resilient, and we accommodate and where the discussions are, and we're just going to be here doing our thing and participating as we can, and I can tell you that this global race for sustainability has just been so much fun to be involved in, and it's just being well received. And so, we can continue doing this till 2030, uh, when the goals are set to be achieved. So, um, I was listening to your guest on your show previously. It
Mhm.
may have been a recent guest. It may have been yesterday. I'm not sure, but you asked him that question. He was in tech,
Yeah,
okay, and
yeah.
yeah, and he said, it's just an outdated concept to think about predicting, you know, 5 years from now.
Yes.
Whatever you ask him, I can't remember the time frame. I think you just asked me 10 years, didn't you?
What
You
I
know,
said, where do you see yourself in the future, 10 years from now, or beyond that, doing with the AI technology that you have
right.
scale, something like that? Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to kind of agree with what that particular guest said, and he was coming from a tech perspective. Our race, we do have runners out there running, putting their feet on the earth, but in the race roster platform, it's considered a virtual event because we're running all over the world at the same time. So it really is connected by technology, by the race roster platform. And man, I'm telling you, I mean, just how I described how we grew from 38 to 190, like, or 190 something. So just like almost with the click of a computer swipe or something like that. And here's an interesting thing, and I feel confident in talking about it, but we're getting ready to wrap the race up. Okay, the race ends on the 20th this year, or 20th of July this year, right before the Olympics start. And it's amazing how we're looking at potentially celebrating with a around the world flight around all the countries participating
Congratulations.
through Microsoft Flight Simulator, which would be a virtual flight. So it's kind of like so much with technology, it just accelerates. You can hardly predict. We would not have predicted that we would have been even thinking about something like that, doing a around the world flight with all the participant countries, when we started this event. That's how fast technology is moving. And I have to say that this particular event, the Global Race for Sustainability, has probably, its success is due a lot to the age that we're living in when everything is moving so fast right before our eyes. Before we know it, we've doubled or we've tripled or we've quadrupled. Just some ideas.
I get it. You're on fire right now. I get it. I get what you're saying. So if you had to give your piece of advice to a young entrepreneur that is want to be in your shoes, possibly working for the United Nations or possibly getting into politics or however they want to grow, what would it be? And to your organization, having over 190 countries, that is a round of applause. So tell me, how would you get there if you
Mhm.
were in their shoes, or should they get to where you are?
Well, yeah, you might as well just take me out of that picture, but it's a very good question. Like, because young people, as far as advice to young people or what's happening with young people, is young people are grabbing a hold of these ideas of sustainability and are running with them. So it's not like what we advise. It's like, I'm just kind of letting you know what's happening here. You know, they're running with these ideas. And they look at those 17 sustainable development goals as business opportunities. So, you know, it's not on, it's not something that we have to advocate for. It's like happening before our eyes. This is the world we live in. Um, so sustainability, another thing as far as sustainability in businesses, I do tell people that if you are interested in business, which you're working on your MBA and you're business oriented, uh, yes, there she nods. So of course you are. I say if you're interested in business and you feel like you're going to need to go have a talk with your banker about financing your business or a business loan or what have you, you definitely need to be aware of what these 17 sustainable development goals are, because your banker is going to ask you which one of these, or where does your project fit into this overall um, layout of sustainability. They may not say in the conversation with the banker, or really on the banker's forms when you go to fill in the blanks on your forms, it may not say, are you advocating for sustainable development goal number 1 or number 5 or number 7, but it'll ask you, what sustainable um, uh, features are presented in your business proposal, or which one of these sustainable ideas and problems does your business address. So it's important from a business point of view. You're going to go talk to your banker, make sure you know what your 17 sustainable development goals are.
And lastly, well said, by the way. And lastly, how can the people reach you?
I don't think I heard your question.
How can the people reach you?
Oh, I put the email for us right down here, diplomatic office at issnow.earth. And you can register for the race at our website, which is issnow.earth. And that stands for International Sibling Society. Now, it's not 1998 anymore. We are living in the now, .earth. So not .org, not .com, but .earth.
I like that website, Earth. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining my show today. You take care. Stay on the line. You guys stay on the line, and I will see you guys another time. Bye.